Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to MALN Opinion Plus, a weekly series airing every Friday. This is a space for our opinions where we talk about current events and questions the Latino community is curious about. Today, we are joined by Rosario Ubiera-Minaya, Executive Director of Amplify Latinx. Along with her position, which she began in 2019, Rosario continues to work as an independent consultant and the principal and owner of Conjuelos Productions. Welcome to our show, Rosario.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, same here. It's a very exciting opportunity. So, first, I was hoping we could talk about what Amplify Latinx is about, and if you can give us an introduction to your mission and the organization's general work.
Of course. So Amplify Latinx is based in Massachusetts, and we are a nonprofit organization that focuses on professionals, entrepreneurs, and advocates across sectors who are seeking to grow professionally in their civic and political engagement. So we ultimately focus on civic engagement, economic opportunity, and leadership representation across sectors for equity for the Latino community. We were launched back in 2012, originally as the Latina Circle, which was a Boston-based nonprofit social venture. And it was focusing just on advancing Latina leaders across industries into positions of power and influence. And we did that for a little while until 2017, when we took a strategic direction of being more inclusive in the Latino community and more focused on issues. So our mission is really to build Latino economic and political power. And our vision is to have full representation of Latinos in decision-making roles across sectors in Massachusetts.
I see. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great explanation of it. How has the pandemic affected your organization's priorities and operations this past year?
Well, there's no question that the pandemic had really affected Black and Brown communities, not only in Massachusetts, but across the nation and the globe. For us, really, in our priority areas, we had to pivot into really addressing the immediate needs of Black and Brown communities, especially Latinx communities, of course. So we really saw how our businesses were deeply affected by the pandemic. On top of that, there's that virus of racism, health and wealth disparities that have affected our communities historically. So all of that really provided us with an angle to continue working in the areas that we are focusing on, but also really highlighted how indispensable and valuable our essential workers are, innovators and creators in our communities, the sustainers of our economy. So through all that work, we started to do more technical assistance to small businesses. We launched new programming really addressing the needs of the community. But we wanted to really focus on providing resources, especially for economic access and economic mobility. So we partner with other organizations to create a coalition of Black and Brown representation, and we advocated together for 1 million of recordable grants and businesses that will support the needs of businesses of color. We also launched a statewide survey to really understand not only the needs of the Latinx businesses that are very significant, but also to understand the needs of the Latino community as a whole and how they've been affected through the pandemic. And through that, through those findings, we are able to address programming that really focus on that.
Right. How can residents or our audience find the survey?
The survey is on our website. So there's a tab with resources. There's a resource page in there, as well as the findings of the survey. There's also different research studies and projects that we have partnered with different organizations in throughout the years that provide a lot of good stats and information on the Latino community.
Okay, that's amazing. So that kind of leads one of my questions that I'll skip to. It's a part of how your organization focuses a lot on economic opportunity, as you were saying. You now offer PowerUp Latinx Business Directory. I'm not sure if that is what you're referring to for one of those, and the Latino Business Resilience Program. I was hoping you could talk a bit about those during this episode as well.
Sure. So I will give you a little bit of information on Latino businesses in Massachusetts, so we can create some context around this. In 2018, based on the census, we really learned that 30,000 Latino Hispanic-owned businesses in Massachusetts were generating 3.8 billion in revenue at that time, and they were employing close to 19,000 residents. So way significant, support and contributions to the local economy. But out of those high numbers, only 3% of these businesses were generating over 1 million in revenue. So we really understood that our businesses needed support, and like I said before, access to resources. So we launched this initiative called PowerUp, that is first of its kind in Massachusetts. It's a collaborative mission and movement that focus on activating the untapped economy and potential of the Latino businesses in the state. So our mission with that initiative is to really create the visibility for Latinx-owned businesses and create a network for connections, for accessing resources, capital, and also a pathway to scale as a business. So through that initiative, we were able to tap into the needs of the businesses when the pandemic hit.
Right. Okay. And so, related to that, you've recently shared also your expertise with GBH's new Center for Investigative Reporting for their series, The Color of Public Money. Within Massachusetts, if you can go more in depth about the unique challenges for businesses owned by people of color.
Of course. So thank you for bringing that up, because this is really important work that is happening in our communities right now. We have, like I mentioned before, we have joined forces with Black organizations representing Black businesses, African American businesses, as well as indigenous communities and businesses. So we can have a strong voice as minority groups in not only going deeper in terms of understanding what are the challenges, but really in advocating for the needs of the businesses. So through that work, we started to learn about contracting and procurement in the city of Boston and throughout the state of Massachusetts. And we learned about the disparities that have been happening historically throughout the years. There's no access for minority businesses in Massachusetts to really get certified and also to apply for these contracts. There's billions of dollars that are allocated for these contracts to happen, and out of those billions of dollars, through a study and an investigative report through GBH, we discover that less than 2%, 1.4% has been allocated or given to small businesses, especially Black businesses. So through that investigative report, and also through a study that the city of Boston did engage on for the last 7 years, we continue to find more disparities. And so today, actually, Amplify Latinx, the Black Economic Council in Massachusetts, Greater Boston Latino Network, and Lawyers for Civil Rights join forces, and we file an administrative complaint against the city of Boston based on discrimination and the disparities that we have been able to identify through this research.
Wow, that's something exciting to follow and see where that goes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So next I'm wondering, what are your, that probably will fall into our next question, which is all about the organization's biggest goals for this new year, 2021. I also read the strategic roadmap that you have about your 4 imperatives. If you could, give a summary of that or talk more about this, just what are your biggest plans for this year?
Yeah, so this year is a funny year for organizations and for nonprofits, because there's some uncertainty around not only funding and support, but also where things are going with the pandemic. So Amplify decided to focus on 2021 in very specific areas. We will continue to working in growing and cultivating our civically engaged network, and there's different activities that happen around that through our programming. We will continue focusing on driving leadership advancement and placement. So we'll create a more robust plan with a specific opportunities for joining boards, commissions, decision-making roles, C-suite roles for Latinos, and to also be able to track that. And we'll work in really developing this shared Latinx policy blueprint that we are calling, kind of like the Amplify Coalition, to be tasked with putting this together. And it's basically an advocating and policy agenda that focuses on the main areas that Latinos want to see more mobility. So we'll continue doing that through convening, through connecting, and through educating, through our research, connecting through our network, and convening through our conversations and events that we very strategically put together.
That's good to hear. That's exciting. What are a few ways that residents can currently get involved and also, in upcoming opportunities, and how can they stay updated with the organization?
So definitely sign up to our newsletter. It's very easy to sign up. You just go on our website or in through one of our social media channels. We are in all platforms, and that way you can receive information on a monthly basis through our newsletter, but also notices and information about our events that are coming up and our campaigns. Also, there's through this work that we do, we always want to activate our community to do something, to advocate, to be part of a civic movement, to be engaged, to take part of the changes that we want to see in the community. So there's always actions to take. So as you sign up to the newsletter, you will receive that information. We have right now a campaign going on that is elevating Afro-Latinx voices. That is going on through the month of February, and we are elevating Afro-Latinos through that campaign from Massachusetts. And the next one that is coming up is one focusing on Latina leaders for the month of March, which is Women's History Month. So we'll be selecting 10 Latina leaders to highlight, and there's a nomination phase that is happening right now. So it's open right now. So if people want to go to our website or again through our social media, they can nominate any Latina that they want to see highlighted.
That's very exciting. I'm excited to stay tuned for that. Yeah, we'll put those resources in the doc below this video.
Wonderful. That'll be great.
Yes. Thank you so much for talking with us, Executive Director Rosario Ubiera-Minaya, such a beautiful name, and for being our guest on MALN Opinion Plus.
Thank you so much again for having me. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so happy that you are using this platform to create awareness about all the great things that are happening in Massachusetts.
Of course, it's our pleasure. Thank you again. Take care, please. Everyone, please tune in next week for another episode. Follow us on Twitter at MA Latino News and Instagram at MA_Latino News. I'm Belen Dumont with MALN Opinion Plus, and I will see you all next time.